Hey, what's going on everyone? Hope you're doing well. So Kirby's Dream Buffet, let's get into it. Kirby's Dream Buffet is a party video game from HAL Laboratory and Nintendo that was released for the Nintendo Switch on August 17th, 2022. This game was announced only about a month ago during the Kirby 30th Anniversary Music Festival, and it started to get some buzz for being like a sort of Fall Guys-esque Kirby game that would have some Battle Royale elements to it and also some party mini games, and that is basically what this is, but the huge difference from Fall Guys being that this is a 4-player game rather than like 40 or 60 players going against each other. So this is definitely a much more small scale party game, but it's still a really fun one. So the game starts out in a small menu screen here where you can roll around and check out different things like rewards, costumes that you've unlocked, stickers that you earn from playing the game more, and of course the actual game where you can choose between a local single player or split screen co-op experience, which is sadly actually only limited to like 2-player couch co-op, which is a bit of a bummer, but it is what it is. And there's also online play where you can play with 3 other random people online or create a private lobby that you technically can like just sort of wait for the 2 minutes to go by for people to join, and then it'll put you against 3 CPUs if nobody does join. And the reason I wanted to try that out though is because I wanted to see if you could like invite 1 friend if you don't have 3 friends that have this game, and then both of you play against the CPUs, and I think that is possible. I haven't like actually tried that out, but it did seem like that would be a possibility here. So let's get into the actual gameplay here. So your different modes here are a Grand Prix mode, free roaming, single race, single minigame, and a single battle royale mode. So I jumped right into the Grand Prix mode here because I'm sure that's what most people will be playing. So with the Grand Prix, you play out 4 different stages of a match that consists of 2 races, 1 minigame, and 1 battle royale game. Let's start out with the races. The 2 races you'll play here are essentially like the exact same, but they'll have some aesthetic differences, and the main goal of the race is to get all the way down the mountain as fast as you can before your opponents, because there's like this big 50 strawberry cake at the end that you can get all to yourself. But the race is more interesting than that. Like it's pretty hard actually to maneuver this rolling Kirby at times. The movement can be a bit heavy, and you might find yourself rolling off the map a lot, or at least I did. And along with that, there's like a bit of a Mario Kart flavor to this because you can get power-ups and you can use those to knock your opponents off the map or just knock them out for a few seconds. And there's quite a few of those power-ups here. You've probably seen most of them in other Kirby games before, but they're things like the tornado, the stone, the burning power, and also some other powers that are more for defense or for like eluding the obstacles on the course, like a jelly power that lets you just kind of go under or kind of be invisible a bit, and then the drill that's more of like lets you go underground and completely avoid stuff in front of you. So there's a lot of chaos that can happen here with all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, there's just like so many people are fighting for these powers and for the strawberries, and you can think you're doing pretty good and then someone just knocks you out of the map and you're in dead last. So there are like a lot of different factors here that can play into this, and it makes it a lot more enjoyable. But there's one big thing you'll probably notice when you're doing these races, and that's that there are these wooden panels like every once in a while that essentially like stop everybody's progress. They don't let anybody get a huge lead to just kind of run away with the race. And you know, it sort of makes a lot of the things you do a bit meaningless because you can be super far ahead and get to one of those wooden panels, and if you don't have a power up to like go under it, then everybody's gonna probably catch up to you while you're just solo trying to break this panel by yourself. So it's kind of frustrating, but not really. I mean, it's all in good fun, so it lets everybody else kind of catch up, and you know, maybe that's not cool. Maybe you're like, hey, everything I just did didn't matter. But I don't think it's that serious, so it's just kind of there to let the race be more interesting the entire time. No one can get a super huge lead. No one ever is completely out of it, so I think that was okay. So you don't want anybody to just feel like they got no chance every time, and I thought that was a nice thing to throw in there. So then after that first race, you go into a 30-second minigame, which is essentially just 30 seconds of collecting strawberries in like a sort of top-down top-down game with certain different varieties of stuff. Like you have to jump into cups to get strawberries, or avoiding these big cakes that are falling on you, and you know, these games are pretty fun. But I'll be honest, this round of the Grand Prix is like super forgettable because they're over in the blink of an eye. 30 seconds is not that much time, and especially when you have like an objective that you're doing, it feels like it's instantly over. Like it's like the game starts and then you're already seeing that countdown. I'm like, wait, the game is over already? And it's very odd that the game is that short. But it's not that these games aren't fun though. If they made them like a minute rather than 30 seconds, you know, they're pretty bare bones. The mini games are pretty bare bones. I think it's the weakest part of the game, the weakest part of the Grand Prix for sure. But I think it's fine. It's the worst part about it actually is that it's sandwiched in between the 2 races. So you'll do a race that lasts, I don't know how many, it's still not very long, but you'll do a race and then it's this super quick mini game that is almost like just not even there. and then you're back into another race. So I think that's the worst part about it. I wish there was something else that was different enough to sandwich in between the two races, or I'm kind of surprised why they even have a second race to begin with. That's another question I kind of have. Like, it would have been nice to have 4 different things you're doing rather than just doing a race and then another race that's exactly the same not too long afterwards. Like, it essentially feels like you're doing 2 races back to back. But you know, I digress. You know, it's still a good time. Those are just like minor flaws. It's not something that's huge, like a huge problem I have. It adds to like the possibility of having the repetition here. You know, it does get a bit repetitive, and I'm sure the more and more you play, you're just like, okay, I've done this quite a bit now. But this probably won't be a game you play like all day and all night, but it's still a lot of fun. I don't want to make it sound too bad. But okay, let's finally get into what I think is the best part of the Grand Prix here, and I think maybe the best part of the entire game, which is the final Battle Royale round. So after you've amassed your strawberries from the first 3 rounds, you jump into a final Battle Royale where you can try and knock out players like out of the entire map, and when they do get knocked out of the map, you take some of their strawberries. It's not all of them, but it is a pretty significant amount. You'll quickly realize like the first 3 rounds, it didn't matter all that much. Like, you can quickly come back from a huge deficit, or if you're in a big lead, you can lose your lead instantly. So there's a lot of madness here in this final round, and again, maybe that can be frustrating. Like, if you really want to win, it's like, oh, everything I just did in the first 3 rounds didn't matter. But again, I don't think that's the point here. I think it's all just to have a good time, and the chaos just adds to that. Anything can happen, and it's like Mario Party, right? You could play a 2-hour game of Mario Party, and it can feel like everything you did didn't matter because at the end they're just giving away the bonus stars. In a way, this is that, but in super rapid pace. Actually, what it reminds me a lot of is the minigame from Pokemon Stadium 2 with Hitmontop, where you had to bounce people out of that little dome little thing that it was just like a little circle that you had to bounce them out of. That was one of my favorite games in Pokemon Stadium 2, and this isn't exactly the same thing, right? But it does give a lot of that same feeling, and I really enjoyed that. I really did like the ideas here, the concepts. Everything is like, okay, there's something like kind of special here. It's not gonna like blow people away or anything, I don't think, but this is a really nice addition to the Kirby series. Like, just overall, I think this is one that I'll gladly go back to every once in a while. And definitely I want to keep playing now. Like, every time I go back to it, I'm like, this is still great. I'm still having a great time. So yeah, that's it for the Grand Prix. That's pretty much it for the entire game. Like, you play more and more. As you play more and more of these games, you increase your gourmet rank, and that gets you to get a bunch of unlockables, and that's pretty much it. I don't know if I made it clear enough yet, but I am really enjoying this for the price point that it's at right now, or I guess it always will be probably at $15. I think this is more than good enough, especially with a game that I had no idea was going to exist, like even a little over a month ago. All right, so I actually already did the whole recording, but I realized I was listening to it back. I realized I didn't talk about like how many actual games are in this. Like, so the races that you have are the same. That's not going to change every time you do a race. That'll be the same. The mini games though, or the actual mini game in the Battle Royale, I think those change maps. Like, the Battle Royale is also the same concept, the same format, but the maps change a little bit every time. I'm not sure how many maps there are. From what I've played, I think I've seen a handful of different maps, maybe 4 or 5. They look different. There's like, again, aesthetic differences. And as for the mini games, I've seen like the cups one. There's like a waffle cone one and the chocolate cake one. Again, I have no idea. I've tried to look online for how many games are in this. I think I've heard maybe there's 16 different games at the very least. I'm not exactly sure. Honestly, I don't know. They're not like, I don't think there's any huge variation here. It's not gonna matter too much how many games there are in here. Like, they all could be exactly the same every time. You're basically getting the same experience, but you do still want variety. So I wanted to throw that in there. I noticed I didn't talk about that. So as for how many games exactly, I'm not sure, but it's, there's a little variety here and there. Essentially, you're going to be doing the same thing though every time. It's the 2 races, it's the Battle Royale at the end, and the mini game is pretty much the same no matter what kind of small little variations there are. You're getting strawberries, and it's all about just having fun. So yeah, I wanted to throw that in there. And honestly, I didn't really even like the way that I said bye at the end of the video, so I'm just going to use this as the send-off. But yeah, hope you're all doing great, and I hope to see you all in the next one.